Also, though, is that's not the only thing going on with the city. Again, definitely looking forward to speaking to Senator Terrell McKinney, who was a part of issuing this legislation to get this passed. But again, as I mentioned, fire, police at the top of Mayor Stothard's budget. But what about the little guy? What about the average Omahan? Again, talking about those struggling with poverty. And there is a poverty action, or excuse me, poverty elimination action plan, that is the full name. And Omaha is finally working on that, looking to sign a deal with experts at UNO this week, who have insight into who is struggling locally with poverty based on years of studies. This includes people reintegrating into society after prison. Again, talking about recidivism, something that we've been working closely with. The city of Omaha is looking to finalize this deal with UNO's Nebraska Center for Justice Research this week. The biggest challenge, according to Ryan Spoon, who's the director of UNO's Nebraska Center for Justice Research, is probably just housing, as he says. He went on to say, we want them to become productive citizens. And if you're couch surfing, if you don't have a place to live, you can think about how difficult it is to hold down a job under those circumstances. The plan is part of the legislature's Poverty Elimination Action Plan, which passed this year. UNO's decade-long study shows people coming out of prison run into insecurities ranging from food to housing. They may just have about $50 and a shirt on their backs when they come out. And also, food insecurity is becoming a much larger problem. Housing insecurity is becoming a much larger problem. And with the economy and the situation that it is, not really looking like any reprieve is coming anytime soon. So
Mm.
again, Paul, I know that you've kind of heard these stories closely as we're working on this documentary with the Metro Community College and the 180 Reentry Rap program. But again, can you kind of speak to that, how people are being impacted by coming out of incarceration and just trying to make ends meet, man, struggling through poverty,
Yeah, most people, you know how it is out here. Even now, if you're not incarcerated, if you're
man.
just out and about, you need a job. You got to know people. You got to be in a community, usually, in order to move in that space. And if you have been locked away, then you don't have that anymore. And a lot of times, you don't even have your family support. So, I've been talking to a lot of folks that are just coming out that appreciate these new programs like the 180 Rap program so much because they feel like they wouldn't have been able to make it without it because you come out, you get support to go to find a job. You get sometimes you get support to find housing. In some of the programs, the deeper programs like the Life program, that the ones that I'm doing a film on now, they kind of help you all the way around. They help you with
Hmm.
the needs that you have. If you need transportation money, if you need food, if you need supplies, if you need to just get by, if you need to find housing. It's a very complete way to be able to help. So I really applaud like Senator McKinney and the other people, Diane Good Collins, for instance, over at Metro, to that are really putting this at the forefront and saying, listen, let's attack this thing. We've been saying this like now for a couple of years. We've been online on air talking about poverty being the reason for a lot of the things that's going on, crime and
Hmm.
all these other things being the reason. If somebody doesn't have a
Education.
kind of a plan for this, then then we're going to be stuck in the same situation, just repeating everything. So the efforts, this to me feels like people who are approaching the problem where it starts, where it started
Yeah.
from. And so yeah, so as far as I'm concerned, I think it's some of the best work that can happen right now. I'm thinking of the BAA, Black Agenda Alliance. I'm thinking of Untamed. I'm thinking of people that work with people directly to try to keep them out of those kinds of situations. And if they're in, still support and support families around it. Yeah, lots to it. Lots to
Yeah,
it.
man. Yeah, it's the holistic approach. It's the holistic approach. I'm thinking of a couple things actually. As you were talking, one of which is being just how I understood recidivism and people getting out of jail. The reality, especially if you're on like parole or probation, a lot of people feel like you get thrown out, you get put on probation. It's like find a job or go back to jail, and a lot of people, due to all the reasons we're discussing, end up going back. Unfortunately. But to your point of addressing where it starts, it is very interesting. How do people get into that cycle to begin with? And like you said, the family, we were learning that, especially dealing with youth. And it is actually interesting that this article from KETV acknowledges that not only are, formerly incarcerated brothers and sisters dealing with poverty, but actually, according to Wes Peterson, who's a UNL agricultural economist, he says that today the biggest poverty problems in the United States are actually among children. The elderly are no longer one of the groups. Social Security has pretty much fixed the poverty problem among the elderly, which you might have to talk about that.
Mhm.
But again, among children, apparently data states that poverty is worse, and especially several years removed from the pandemic, which we know had a huge economic impact on a lot of families. You kind of think, which direction are we going? With children dealing with poverty, it tends to state that they struggle through school and struggle and kind of end up behind bars. That's just how the data shows it. So again, addressing the youth, addressing the family, addressing the home first, and make sure that situation is whole is definitely a big part. So again, that's kind of why we're here where we are in the North Omaha area as far as the ARPA funds and what's going on with the
Mhm.
Inland Port Authority and all these conversations, housing, all of these things are just tentacles to the bigger conversation of addressing poverty and making sure the whole family is whole, really.
Big
So
time, big time. Kimber in the chat says she says I talked to the mayor and Chief Warren about poverty action plan, planning to get with Senator McKinney about it this week.
okay.
Yeah, I really look forward to having him on the show today and talk a little bit about that too. This is something that we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks. I think, well, not us, but you guys actually have been talking about this poverty action plan, bringing it up. What's the plan? There's a lot of questions behind it. When I think poverty action plan, I'm thinking it's got to be comprehensive, man. It's got,
Man,
there's
man.
a lot to that, and how do you even attack that? So I'm a great admirer of Senator McKinney and others who have who are thinking these things through,
Mhm.
completely in the way that they are. So
Man.
yeah, can't wait to talk about it.
Takes a lot of thought. Takes a lot of thought. But there is also a call to action on this because not only tomorrow will there be a discussion over the budget, but also this plan. The agreement for a plan is up for public hearing on Tuesday at 2 p.m. at Omaha City Hall. So again, if you can make that, definitely urge you to at least check it out, hear what's being discussed. Again, that's 2 p.m. at City Hall tomorrow. So public input is welcomed.
Right on.
There you go. There you go.
Sounds
So
good. 7:27 right now. If you believe in the concept of time, if you're just joining us, this is First Sky Omaha in the morning.
in the morning.
Paul B, Buddy to God. This is our
Yeah.
7 o'clock broadcast. We appreciate everybody that's chiming in. If there's any of these subjects that you want to discuss a little bit further, we're going to reintroduce them again on the second hour, so we can get into a little bit deeper dive discussion on all those things. And again, if you've been able to check out that action plan or Mayor Stother's budget, if you looked through that at all, I would love to hear from you firsthand about some of the things that you saw on it, and we can talk about in the second hour as well.
Amen.
Kimmer says it's going to start with an assessment, talking about the action plan. Omaha Human Rights and Relations Department are in charge of it.
Okay.
Okay, and I see a
Okay.
kind of a sad face there at the end of that thing there, so that doesn't encourage, that doesn't inspire
No, no.
confidence.
Doesn't breed excitement. No, no, not at
No,
all. Not at
okay.
all. Not at all.
Well,
So
the studies and studies and studies, right?
yeah,
Assessments all the time, I guess. We'll
more
see.
of them. More of them. And I just wonder um how willing and eager will your everyday Omahans, be willing to, go along with those assessments. I'm thinking of how the bureau, I'm drawing a blank. It's every 10 years.
Census.
Yes, thank you. The Census Bureau and how communities, not everybody fills it out, not everybody's, and when you really think about it, that census data is kind of used to make these poverty plans and to know who's where and where what economic status they have and those things. So again, very very interesting to see how this will play out. And to your point, I definitely hope it is comprehensive. But again, everybody has the opportunity to chime in tomorrow at 2 p.m. So there you go. There you go.
Right. If you have any more information on that, please put it in Friends of First Sky Omaha so everybody can get that. And if we find some documentation there, we'll put it there as well.